Jackie, what are you training for?
I'm training for Black's Grove Backyard Ultra in Wadena, Minnesota.
Awesome. So a backyard, you got laps.
Yep. Yeah, they're technically called yards.
Yards.
Yep.
Yards.
4.167 miles each yard.
So when you're training for a backyard ultra, that's different than training for a 50K or 100K, right?
Yeah, it's a little, there's different nuances to it.
I'm going to step back and let's talk, because you just won a 100K.
Yes.
Obviously, training for 100K is great for a backyard ultra, but it's not the same, right?
Yep.
So walk us through training for 100K. What goes into that? What does a training plan look like? What mindset did you have training for the 100K?
Yeah, so when you think about training for 100K, or even if you think about training for a 50K is fairly similar to marathon training, but you want to incorporate more specificity to the course that you're running. When it comes to 100K and 50K training are very similar. It's a little bit more mileage. You might rearrange your runs throughout the week so that you have mileage more condensed, because more mileage is not always better, and you can't always continue to stack your mileage, right? You can't just keep growing from 50 miles a week to 100. Like, it's just not realistic. So we kind of rearrange our runs so that we have maybe back-to-back long runs, or we have like a Friday long run at maybe 10 miles, 20 miles on Saturday, 10 to 12, maybe up to 2 hours on Sunday. So we're stacking that volume and we're creating a different adaptation for the body when it comes to running that 100K. So overall, I'm doing that kind of condensed block of mileage for the week on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And my runs for the rest of the week are easy runs, hill repeats, and maybe a speed workout in there.
For your training weeks, what do you build off of? A time on the feet or specific mileage?
When I'm training for the 100K, I'm focused on mileage just because it's something easy to measure. I don't have to incorporate a ton of hiking and walking into my training when I'm focused on how fast can I run this 100K. When you switch to the backyard, then I focus more on time on feet versus mileage.
So that, I mean, that's a big distinction, I think. You know, when I think about my training, all my long runs are just by time. Like, I hope that the mileage goes up over the months. Yeah. But my Saturday long run is 3 hours. First week, that might be 9 miles.
Yep.
You know, but it is 10, 12, 15 as I get months in. So
right. And I think it depends on the race that you're training for and like who each individual is too. If you're running like a very mountainous race or one with a lot of just elevation gain in general, then you're gonna have to incorporate more hiking into your long runs, and maybe hitting 20 miles for a long run is not realistic because it's going to take you 7 hours.
I mean, all of us have 7 hours on a Monday to get to run.
Right.
Okay, from that perspective then, let's jump back to the 100K. As you were training for that and building mileage, did you have a goal to go out and win this 100K? Or what was your goal as you were doing the training for that race?
The goal was to actually just use the 100K as kind of, they call it a shock cycle. So just something longer than what you would typically do for your weekly mileage throughout training and your long run distance for the backyard ultra. So that was kind of what was going to be my longest run going into the backyard ultra.
Was it planned to have a certain number of weeks between the 100K and the backyard, or did you specifically go find these races for that?
I knew about the 100K. It used to be in March. It got canceled too many times due to blizzards, so they moved it to April, and it fit right in. If it was closer, if it was at the end of April, I would not have signed up to run it. I wanted enough time in between the two races so that I could fully recover. So that planning was intentional. It just happened to work out well for it being far enough away from the backyard.
So what does recovery look like after 100K and then with a plan going into the backyard?
One of my goals was to push the first half of the race so that I was tired for the second half and I could really work through some of the mental lows that come in ultras, and I really wanted to figure out where my mind went, how I felt, what I did to deal with maybe not wanting to eat or drink my nutrition. My goal overall for the race was to be able to run on Monday. I was going to take a full rest day on Sunday and then run on Monday if I felt good. But I wanted to recover well so that I could get right back into training for the last couple peak weeks for my backyard ultra.
What are challenges that like your athletes face, or what are common challenges you see between you, your athletes, people you talk to on that mental side? Yeah,
so the brain's main source of energy is carbs, and the longer you run, the further you get into your race, the more problems that can come up in terms of GI distress, dehydration, what's the weather like, you're fatiguing, and a lot of times you tend to not take in as much as you should be, and then thoughts start coming up in terms of, I should walk now, I can't do this, I should quit, maybe I'm gonna fall and I'm gonna have to quit the race. There's just a lot of thoughts that come up that aren't rational to our brains right now, but in a fatigue state, the brain is really just trying to protect you. That was what it was built to do. So that's what it's trying to do in those moments. So those are just some of the common thoughts that come up. I can't do this, I shouldn't be out here. Some of those imposter syndrome thoughts too, of you don't belong out there. But you have to remind yourself to continue to eat and continue to drink to stay on top of that. And that's one of the number one things that I tell my athletes is when you start to hit those mental lows, you're running behind on your nutrition and you need to figure out something that you can eat and you can drink to get back on top of it. And once you do that, those thoughts usually go away.
I don't have to go 50K to have those thoughts. 400 meters.
Yeah.
Should I walk now? And now I know I just need to eat. Let's pack it on.
You can feel a track workout.
Okay, 400 meters, and should I quit? Do I belong out here? That's great. I have an advantage. I can work right from the start on my mental game.
Yeah.
I do think that's important. So as you head into the ultra now, you'll do more, or the backyard ultra, you'll do more hiking.
Yes.
And so thinking about that and pace over those yards long term, right?
Yep.
Do you find this is something I struggle with, because when I'm training for my long runs, which aren't even close to yours, but I'm hiking the hills. Mm-hmm. I'm hiking all the hills. So that training, that's part of why I'm time-based, right? But I really like to hike. And so I struggle, like right now I'm training for a faster run, the Running Wild 7K. I am forcing myself to run all the hills, and I'm doing much more threshold work because of it. But I like the hike, so it's hard to get going again. Yeah. Where we have another buddy who like refuses to hike because he runs everywhere all the time. Do you have a challenge either way, like when you're hiking to get back to running or running to hiking, or making that shift? It
gets harder the longer you're running. The more you train it, the easier it is to kind of train the brain of like, okay, we're gonna hike up this hill, but then once we get to the top of the hill, we're gonna start running again. So sometimes I set those intentions of I'm gonna run everything I can. That's efficient. A lot of times running uphill is not efficient. So that's why in ultras we hike, we walk a lot. I think just the more you get fatigued, the more likely you are to continue to walk and hike versus run. And that's something that I haven't quite figured out yet. Like in the 100K, I definitely walked a lot more in the second half. I didn't walk at all in the first half, and hit maybe 50 miles or so, and it's like, oh, walking feels really good right now, even though I want to run and keep on moving. It's just something you kind of have to work through in that moment.
From the backyard ultra perspective, I talked to Paul Scholl last year after he had won a backyard ultra, and he said he did his last 2 laps really fast. I don't even want to ask Paul how fast that is, because I assume I couldn't run 400 meters.
I think his last lap was 38 minutes.
So he said that felt really good to change pace. Is that a strategy that you would recommend or look at? Like, do you run different yards at different paces? What do you tell athletes, or what do you do for yourself?
So I think it depends on the individual, what your easy pace is kind of ranging at. When it comes to the backyard that I was running with Paul, with the course, it was very hilly. And so we were hiking the uphills and then jogging the downhills, and there weren't many flat sections. And from an efficiency standpoint, at least for Paul and myself, it felt very inefficient to do that, and we did want to run faster. And I think that was one of my downfalls, is I didn't switch up the pace from that just strategy of walking the uphills and then running the downhills. So in my second backyard ultra, I switched it up, and there's a gradual downhill in mile 3 of this course into mile 4, and I just opened up my stride and I ran faster, and that felt really good. So that's something that I've kind of stuck with, but it just depends on like what you are used to doing for like your easy pace runs.
Yeah, I think that pace of both running like your pace but also hiking, I noticed in my last race that had a lot of elevation that my hiking uphill is as faster than a lot of people who were jogging uphill. Like I was watching their feet move so fast in front of me, and I'm like, I need to pass you.
Yeah.
But I know you're running, so you're gonna pass me as soon as we peak out. I also know that I can hike. If I am determined to hike, I'm gonna hit a 14-minute mile hiking. If I'm at 12.5-minute miles, I should not be running anymore. I feel much more efficient just taking a long stride walk, and I've paid attention to that, like on flat or uphill at a 12:30 or so. Running's pointless for me because I can walk that fast.
Yeah, it's within that range of 12:30 to 13:30, depending on your leg length.
So do you train for like to be at that faster hiking pace then too?
Yeah, it's smart for any kind of ultra running. If you can take a 30-minute mile down to a 20-minute mile, you've taken 10 minutes off your time, right? You can't take 10 minutes off your running time. So it's a lot easier to work at your hiking efficiency and getting faster at hiking than it is trying to focus on taking 1 minute off your running pace.
How do you work on hiking efficiency? Just doing it?
Just
you just go out and hike?
Yeah. I give my athletes like scheduled walks of, okay, after your long run, how fast can you walk a mile? Or just on any training day, go out and walk 2 miles and don't do anything else. Don't listen to a podcast. Like, if you need music to motivate you to walk faster, like, use that as a tool, but don't be on your phone texting or whatever, because you're not going to be paying attention to your walking and your hiking. And just focus on that. Focus on your arm swing, focus on how your feet are landing and all of that, and over time you'll get faster.
What else?
Yeah, so when it comes to strength training, I first ask what their experience level is with strength training. Some of my athletes have no experience. They've never strength trained before. Some are coming from a background of strength training. And then the next question is, how much time do you have and how many days a week do you want to actually lift? My minimum requirement is 2 days a week. I have some athletes that lift 4 days a week. So it's kind of just a give and take of what fits in the schedule. And then that's going to evolve as we go throughout training. We're going to focus on some like very basic heavy lifting at the beginning, and then get towards more injury prevention as we get closer to race day. But for all running, strength training is important, but specifically for ultra running, the stronger the base that you have, the further you can run. When you get fatigued, your lifting is going to take over. The strength that you have built is going to take over, and that's going to allow you to continue to run further and further.
When you talk fitness with your athletes, maybe talk about the whole picture of that. So nutrition, strength training, running, and how all that works together to be a better athlete.
Yeah, so in order to support your running, you have to support everything, right? Like, you have to be focused on nutrition, you need to be focused on hydration, sleep, stress is a huge one. And we have one stress bucket. So your body cannot distinguish life stress from training stress, from work stress. And if you have an outside stressor on top of training, I see a lot of athletes who do not progress in their training just because there are those additional stressors outside, and we really need to adjust our training load to kind of match that so our bucket is not overflowing. When it comes to nutrition and hydration, a lot of times runners tend to underfuel because they underestimate the need for how much energy they're actually expending during their training. And it doesn't stop there. So if you are lifting more, you are burning more energy throughout the day just from having that higher resting metabolic rate and more muscle. And that's also where some people start to notice it in their training if they don't have a lot of experience with strength training. And I've had them lifting for 2 months now. They start to feel more fatigued, and then we start talking about, okay, have you increased your intake at all to account for that increase in strength training and the increase in mileage? And a lot of times the answer is no, I didn't even think about that. And that's something that kind of just accumulates over time, and it's something that you started doing a couple weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, up to 2 months ago, so you're not actually noticing it right now because you started doing those activities a while ago. I think one of the other important things about thinking about ultra training is actually practicing with the gear that you're going to use on race day. A lot of times for marathon training or half marathon training, you're not using a lot of gear, and when it comes to race day, you got to figure out how to carry all that nutrition, because maybe you've been running a 5-mile loop for your long runs and you just stop at your car to grab more fuel. Well, you can't do that on race day unless you have someone on the course. So that's where people start using new things, new vests, new water bottles, new clothes on race day that they haven't used before, because they're like, oh, I have to figure out how to carry all this. When it comes to ultra running, you're using that gear or you should be using that gear on a lot of your runs, so you're very used to it when it comes to race day, and it's just a part of you on race day.
Perfect. Thank you.